Hello, and welcome to the podcast that knows, despite the push notifications we get all day telling us that the world is burning down around us, there is still good being created in the world, and we want to highlight it. Whether it's nonprofit leaders solving the world's biggest problems or a small business owner trying to make the world better with a great product or service, we want to highlight the ideas and strategies behind the good that's being made. So without further ado, you're listening to Creating Good, a podcast by Rogue Creatives hosted by me, Matt Barnes. Let's go. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Creating Good with Matt Barnes. I'm Matt Barnes, and we've got a great show for you today. Rob Gallaher from ProfitX is here and has amazing insights for you. But a few housekeeping items before we get into things. You may have noticed we disappeared for a few weeks there. We took 3 weeks off so that we could take a little midsummer break. Although the midsummer break for us is actually starting tomorrow. We use those 3 weeks to do a lot of recording. And so we have a bunch of great episodes of the podcast that are going to be coming out. And I'm going to take a little trip with my family. We're all jumping on a plane and going to Maui. And that could be, for those of you who have been following the Creating Good journey and listening to the podcast for a while, I have 5 kids under the age of 8. And so, yeah, we'll see how this goes. It's going to be an interesting one. And my extended family's going too. My sisters, their kids, my parents. It's going to be a thing. I also wanted to acknowledge the last 2 episodes with Stephanie and Tammy, and then with Crystal Lewis. Man, they were such great episodes, and I didn't know until we went to edit them that somebody had been using our podcast studio and completely changed all the settings on the recording board. This has never happened before. And it sounded great in the headphones when we were recording. But when we went to play back, both of those episodes sounded fairly terrible. The settings were all wrong. The wrong microphones were chosen, just everything. And so I wanted to apologize for that, because we don't normally sound like that. We normally sound better than that. But don't let that get in the way. It really, Crystal and Tammy and Steph had such great insights and things to share. So make sure you check those out. They were great episodes. Be following us at Rogue. Well, you can follow us at Rogue Creatives, Rogue Collective, any of those on there. But also at creatinggood.co is our website, and it's also our Instagram handle. So you can follow us in those places. And go to creatinggood.co and check out our new magazine, the new issue of Creating Good magazine. It is so fantastic. We have a digital version there. But if you're local in Southern California, swing on by Rogue Collective in Newport Beach, and we will give you issues. We'll give you copies. Or a lot of the coffee shops and stuff nearby will all have them as well. It came out so good. I'm just so proud of it. And it really is just doing what the podcast does, tell the stories of people who are creating good in the world. Speaking of which, today, Rob Gallaher is here from ProfitX. ProfitX is, let me tell you this. I'm in the process of launching a new business, Rogue Labs, and I'm very excited about it. But literally 2 days before I had this conversation with Rob, I was considering new ways to do compensation, and now as I'm starting a new company, and profit sharing came up as an option, and I'm like, but how do you do that? How do you do that in a way that makes sense and that helps the company, but also motivates the employees and gives them ownership and that sense of being really a part of it and have that incentive and all that kind of stuff. And there's so many different ways to look at it, and it's kind of complicated. And then I get on this podcast with Rob and hear about his journey, which is exactly that. That is the journey that he's been on, is figuring that out. And he actually even wrote a book about it. So I bought his book on Amazon. It came the other day. I'm going to read it on the plane tomorrow. It's a short book. I'm very excited. But he had such great insights in really how to work with people to get them to create the most good, and to be able to create more good in the world. All right. I'm here with Rob Gallaher. Rob, thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Before we dive into who you are and what you're all about, we always start with a segment called 3 Random Questions, where I ask 3 random questions. It's very cleverly named.
I love it. Let's go.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. So, first question is, what is your favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving. It's always 4 days
Why?
off.
Yeah, that is nice. And the food is
The food
delicious.
is great. Family. I hate when like 4th of July is on a Wednesday.
Isn't
And
that
like,
the weirdest?
what do you get? I feel like 4th of July should always be a Friday, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what day. If it's the 7th of July, but
Yeah.
we can celebrate it a 3-day weekend. I mean, that just makes
Yes,
sense to me.
I agree. I remember 2 years ago, it was on a Wednesday, and it was just like, it's too far from the weekend to just say, all right, everybody take the rest of the week off. But
Right.
like, weird to
Yeah.
come back. That's bizarre. This year was
And the
nice
same
having it
thing
on
for
Friday.
Christmas and New Year's. Let's make them all Mondays or Fridays.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, we're starting a campaign today. That's creating good in the world right there. That is some
There you go.
practical good, right?
Amen. Yeah.
All right, next question. Perfect. What is the perfect weekend for you? What do you like to do on the weekend?
Oh, I love lakes
Yeah.
and pontoon boats. Yeah.
All
If I
right.
can load up the kids and get a cabin at a lake somewhere and I used to have a pontoon boat. I don't anymore, but rent a boat and get out there
Yeah.
with a barbecue grill and swim and tow the little tubes around with the kids. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Where do you live?
San Jose, California.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. We're down in Newport Beach, and yeah, I grew up going out to like Lake Havasu, and we had a pontoon
Yep.
boat and did all that stuff. Those are good times. How
Absolutely.
old are
Good memory.
your kids?
My oldest is 17 and my youngest is 3.
How many?
8.
You have 8 kids?
I have 8 children, allegedly.
Oh my gosh! Holy moly! You got me beat, man. People look at me like I'm crazy, but I've got 5, but you've 8.
Oh, yeah, you're just as crazy.
No, I don't know about that. Now,
Well, three's the hardest. I feel like 3 was the hardest. After 3, it's all downhill because they help
that's
out.
true.
Yeah.
Well, I guess technically we never had 3 because we have 2 sets of twins, so we went from 0 to 2 and then 2 to 4,
That's
and
nuts.
then
Yeah.
yeah,
I have
that's
my sister has twins and my cousin has twins, and I don't know how they do that. I think one at a time is plenty.
well, there's some benefits. You got built-in best friend to keep them company and keep them
Yeah, that's
busy,
true.
and
I'm thinking
you
about the
know.
babies and diapers and
Oh yeah,
feeding and all. That's
that was a lot.
sleeping.
When we finally had our last one, who's just by himself, we were like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah, it's a piece of cake.
All right, last question. What is the first thing you do every morning?
I make my cup of coffee. I have a coffee maker in my bathroom. And
Nice.
before I even leave the bedroom, I have a cup of coffee in my hand.
That's see, you're a man who knows your priorities.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Boats and
Walking
coffee.
downstairs, navigating the kitchen lights, and to get to the coffee maker is too much before I can start drinking it.
Well, with 8 kids. Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you passed 3 random questions, did well, very good. I would love to get to know you a little bit better and let our audience get to know you a little bit better. So, what is your origin story? Where'd you come from? What do you and what brought you to where you're at today?
Well, I lost my job in the 08, 09 housing crisis, lost my
Okay.
job and my house.
Oh, geez.
So I was in the construction retail market and nobody was
Yeah.
hiring. Retail customers were not spending any money because people weren't spending money. And so all their maintenance and construction budgets went out the window. So I found myself a unplanned business owner at 25 years old with a wife pregnant with child number 2.
Okay.
And so I think it was a pretty typical story, working long hours, trying to build this company up and doing any and all work I could find. And I look up 3 years later and I have 30 employees. I'm working 80 hours a week. One of the companies I started in year 2 was a 24-hour plumbing service company. And I did
Okay.
not put that together, that it was 24 hours, 7 days a week. And so I quickly found myself asking other business owners and looking around, paying attention to what they were doing, as far as what the word success means.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of guys that were in their 60s, 50s, 60s, that they were on their 3rd or 4th marriage. They were not healthy. They may have had toys and some zeros in the bank, but they were not happy. Their home
Yeah.
life, so I just saw that overall, not everyone obviously, but that
Yeah.
overall image of, well, I'm on this path right now. My wife was supportive, but our marriage was stagnant. We weren't spending a lot of time together. My kids didn't know who I was. I was lucky to see them at night 30 minutes before they went to bed. And I just started reading books to make sure that I was doing everything right in business. And leadership was a huge part of that, something I became obsessed with and wanted to be a good leader and wanted to learn how to delegate. I was the guy that was worried about the copy paper brand, right?
Right.
And I was
Right.
ordering the coffee for the Keurig in the office myself with 30 employees. Those type typical things I think a lot of us get stuck into that you don't even know you're doing. You
Yeah.
just did it the first day because it was just you one time, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're still doing it 3 years later. So that's my origin story. Uh, Fast forward to today, I have over 100 employees at 4 different companies,
Wow.
and I take leadership very, very serious still, and I train my own leaders, leadership classes, and it's a fun, thrilling, rewarding ride. That's been a lot of work.
Yeah. That's great. So what you said four companies that you have now?
Yep.
Is that what you said? Yeah. We have a very similar path in some ways, very different ways of getting there. But I think I have a number of companies as well, and some of those things you were saying sound very very familiar to me. Worrying
Right.
about the copy paper, and I got an assistant 2 years ago for the first time, and I didn't know what to do with her. Like I
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
That's
going
a hard day. That's a hard day. My wife made me hire an assistant. She's like, "You
yeah,
need her. You need somebody. Stop." Yeah. So, and I found somebody. She's actually in the room with me right now. She's amazing.
yeah.
It's life changing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been amazing, but there was definitely a transition period of like, I finally had to tell her like, okay, I need you to help me see the things that you should be doing that I shouldn't be doing because I'm just so used to doing it. I don't even think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. I
And
actually have a great book about that. That
yeah.
really walks you through that. It's by Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time.
Okay.
And he talks about, CEOs, business owners getting back their time, and it walks you through what your assistant should be doing. And I
Yeah.
actually had her read it and tell
Yeah.
me what she should be doing. So right
Yeah.
along your point. Yeah, it's a great book. If you
I'll check that out. Yeah,
yeah,
there was a
check
there
that
was a
out.
similar kind of book that I gave to that first assistant, and she came back and she's like, "Well, there's a lot of stuff you're doing that you shouldn't be doing," and you know, but it was amazing how freeing. But I had sort of trained also myself to like just get it done, just do it, just do it. You know what you like, just get it done, and but not realizing how much time I was stealing from myself and stealing from my what I needed to be doing and what was the best use of my abilities and skills and leadership, and it just changed the whole ball game for me.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. So what are the businesses that you have? What are they? Profit X is, I know, one of them. That was the first one on your LinkedIn, and
Yeah,
then
that's
there's
actually number 5. It's brand new. The originals were construction and plumbing,
okay.
and then I got into a car wash, and then a restoration company that we started 5 years ago, and then ProfitX is new this year.
Okay. So what's Profit X all about?
ProfitX is about training business owners to implement a profit sharing system into their business.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah, this is something I stumbled across in 2014, the concept of profit sharing, when I
Yeah.
was reading all those books, trying to figure out, making sure that I was running my company correctly. You come across core values and mission statements and KPIs and doing all of those
Sure.
things, which are pretty basic business one-on-one stuff. And I just came across this idea of profit sharing. It's a buzzword. People are
Sure.
fascinated by the idea. If you're an employee, you're like, okay, how can I get more money from this company? And if you're a
Yeah.
business owner, it's a scary thought, but you can see the benefits possibly.
Yeah.
So I went down this path of researching everything I could about profit sharing. And what I wanted was a roadmap or a how-to guide to do it. And all I found was tons of podcasts, tons of books, tons of articles talking about it, the theory of it, but nobody offering a how-to guide to do it. So out of my frustrations, long story short, I took two of my top leaders at the time, brought them into my office, and I said, I want to try this idea of profit sharing. And we had no idea what we were doing. And we wrote up a plan. It was scary. In 2015, the first quarter, I distributed profit sharing checks to about 7 people in my organization, and it was a total disaster. And but giving people, imagine giving people more money in it and them not doing anything different. And so it took about 3 years of trial and error and feedback and as much research as I could do to where I figured out the magic sauce of the correctly set up profit sharing program, where I saw my businesses explode in
Hmm.
2018. We survived COVID with flying colors, and to this present day, we're growing and successful. And that kind of growth and success in a short amount of time brings a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And I had other business owners asking me what I was doing and how do I do that. And so I started, hey, come on into my office, come to my conference room, and I'll lay it out for you, And I would
Yeah.
start training other business owners how to do it for free, just because I wanted to help them.
Yeah.
And somebody said, maybe you should write this down. I think
Yeah.
that, and I was spending a lot of my time doing that one-on-one. So I thought if I wrote it down, it would save me some time. So a book was published in January of this year,
Okay.
and it's a short book. It's probably a 2.5 hour read, depending on how fast you read. And it covers a lot of good points and the rules that I've learned the hard way. And then I decided, well, I need to do more comprehensive course, or some more
Mm.
comprehensive way to give someone basically a course of how to do this, so they learn everything that I know about profit sharing and everything I've learned about profit sharing, how to do it correctly, how to launch it to your team, how to announce it, how to set up your thresholds. And so that course is actually going to be completed at the end of this month. And
Fantastic.
ProfitX is the company, the vehicle we're using to push that out to business owners and teach them and educate them how to do this in their business so they can get their life back. They can work on their marriages. They can be fathers and mothers. They can have time for themselves to be healthy and not have the business be their identity or
Sure.
run their life is basically the goal.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, it it's we live in a culture that doesn't know how to find balance, you
Correct.
know? And in every area, I mean, whether
I'm
it's
still trying to
if
find balance. So if you
right.
got any secrets, right?
Well, but I think it's the key, and what I always talk to people about, and my employees, my friends, my family, is it's not necessarily about finding that balance. It's about the journey. It's about seeking it. And because the reality is balance implies that there's, weights on both sides pulling you here and there. And the reality is those weights are changing constantly. The needs here, the needs there, the everything. And so it's not about finding it and locking it in and be like, I found balance. Okay, there you go. It's that it's retraining our brains to have that constant reevaluation. And okay, where am I going today? What am I doing today? How am I finding balance today? And yesterday looked like this. How, maybe it was a little off that way yesterday. How do I make up for that today? And but it's that middle ground that people have the hardest time with, because it's harder. Like, you have to, it's a constant. It's not a set it and forget it. And so people tend to either go, I'm over here or I'm over there. And that can be in personal life, political life, anything, instead of doing the hard work of processing and finding and
Yep.
making adjustments and changes.
And then you have teenagers. All of a sudden.
Well, and for me, so much of this started with having kids, because realizing, with 8, like even with 1, you find a routine, you find something that works, and it lasts for what, a week or two, until
Pretty-
they hit a new stage or something in life changes or whatever, and then you've got to start finding a new routine, a new thing that works. And so you start to realize there is no magic formula that you will work forever, that you're just like, okay, this is how we do it. And I know, parents that try to do that and then they're constantly frustrated. But the same with business owners, the same with people just with their personal lives and whatever it might be. So helping business owners, especially business owners, we tend to be people who are very driven and very committed to what we're doing. I think all the time about if I had started some of my businesses now when I was in my 20s and I was single, yeah, I'd be here till midnight every night. And at that point, that probably would have been fine, but I can't do that now. I have 5 kids. I have a life. Those things are very important to me, and I have to find that balance.
Yeah. You have responsibilities.
Exactly. And it's not just responsibilities. I have kids because I love them. I love my family. I want to be with them. I want to they're my priority. I have to remind myself that's why I'm doing all of this stuff. We started creating good in so many ways because I'm looking around going like the world is in rough shape and I want to know that I'm doing what I can to help add to the world in a good way, in a positive way because my kids, they got to live here. They got to
Yeah.
survive in this world. So,
100%.
every little bit counts.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but basically, once I got profit sharing figured out and a well-oiled machine in my business, that's when I found some balance where
Yeah.
I was able to go home at 5 o'clock and have dinner with my kids. And I was able to spend weekends at the lake on a
Yeah.
pontoon boat with the wife, watching them play in the water and with squirt guns shooting each other and pushing
Yeah.
each other out of the boat and just being a dad and being a husband. It was profit sharing was the way that I created unity in my team at work and a common goal, right?
Yeah.
And then empowering my team members to with the profit sharing, like, look, you have skin in this game too. It's not me cracking the whip at the top of the company, making all the money. I want to
Right.
share the success of the company with you. Let's get together and do that together.
Yeah.
And what does that look like every day? And so those 3 years of figuring that out and communicating that clearly and getting that system figured out where it's because there's a lot of issues possibly with profit sharing. You can over profit share, you can under
Sure.
profit share and create and you're piss off your employees where they're like, oh, this guy gave me $500 for 3 months of extra effort. That doesn't
Right.
change my needle. So there's a lot of things that I figured out over the last 10 years to teach others and to help business owners not become the guy who's 65 years old on his 4th marriage, not having a relationship with his kids, and he might have a red Corvette and a nice house somewhere, but is that guy happy, right?
Right.
Is he gonna
Right.
look back at his life and be like, "I'm so glad I did this. I'm so glad that I was the window guy for Dallas, Texas, and I installed all this glass on all these huge skyrise buildings." Is that what he's gonna hang his hat on at the end of the
Right.
day? So
Right.
it's been a huge benefit to my life. It's been an amazing benefit to several people that I have coached, and they have set it up correctly, and it's a beautiful thing. It's creating good in the business world for business owners that are often driving themselves to an early grave
I
and
love
taking
that.
taking their family along with them.
Well, isn't so much of the opportunities to create good in the world, whether it's personally, business wise, whatever, isn't it so much of that is asking the question, is there a different way to do this? Is there a different way to apply what I'm doing so that it can benefit more people, so that it can be change my life for the positive, change the lives of others for the positive? One thing that I want to go back to, you asked that question and you tried it and you said it was a miserable failure, and then you had I'm sure at that point you considered the options, right? You can go,
Yeah.
well, that sucked, that didn't work, all right, back to the way it was. But you didn't do that. You dug in and go, okay, well, why? What can we do differently? What tell me, what was that process like for you?
Well, the first set of checks we cut in 2015, I did it quarterly because that's what
Mhm.
quarterly bonuses. That's kind of the American way we think about corporate America. Is every quarter we're going to get a bonus. So we kind of just copied what we knew and tried different things. And we did a percentage base right off the bat because that's what you hear about, commission, a
Yeah.
percentage of commissions, right? And so we took all these known, probably industry standard known things and kind of put them together. And that's how we started. And it just wasn't working. We
Mm.
weren't tying the profit sharing check into their daily behaviors. We weren't, we didn't have thresholds and metrics set up to where we were protecting the company and having the profit sharing checks be big enough to affect their monthly financial needle, which is the connection you need for someone to change their daily activities to win that profit sharing check to where it actually changes their life, right?
Yeah.
$200 profit sharing check every 4 weeks doesn't change anyone's life, right?
No.
Maybe a night out with the wife or a cell phone bill, but
Sure.
it's not, no one's getting out of bed extra early or going the extra mile on a daily basis to help get that, right? If it shows up, great. If not, I still got my payroll, my paycheck, and I'm just going to cruise along in life. And so the process of figuring this out was I've tried to quit like 4 or 5 times. Like
Yeah.
it was just hard. I'm spending this money. We weren't making more money. Like, why am I doing this? Every business owner should have an ROI on everything that they spend money on, right?
Sure.
I buy this copy paper for $20. I'm going to print out $100,000 worth of contracts on that, right? Everything we do in business. We buy this truck, we can do more work. We buy this plumbing camera, we can inspect more pipes or whatever the deal is, right? Everything you
Right.
spend
Right.
on is about making more revenue for the company. So we didn't see the ROI in the profit sharing system, but all the research I did, the theory is so strong, right? When I was doing this 10
Sure.
years ago, and I just needed to prove that it worked. And I was motivated to do that. And I was lined up to reap the rewards of actually figuring that out. And my team members, the ones that were helping me do it and that were involved in it, they were also very motivated that it worked. They did not want me to scrap it. They were pushing me, hey, because that meant more money in their pocket too. And so I started to see an alignment. I started to see people going the extra mile. I started seeing people, one thing I started to see was estimators and project managers in the construction business. They spend a lot of time in the car, driving to job sites,
Sure.
driving to clients. They stopped listening to the radio. They started listening to podcasts about sales or marketing or operations and business. They started doing things in their own time that could have been zoned out and were improving themselves to become the best team player that they could be to help the company win. And so these little things started happening, the numbers started to go up, and we started to hone in on what was actually working and what wasn't. And 10 years later, I have a rock solid, concrete, step-by-step playbook on how you can do this in your business.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm excited. I want to read your book. What's the book title?
Profit sharing, the power of shared success. It's on Amazon.
Awesome.
You Google that, it'll pop up. I think if you even just Google that on Google, it'll pop up now. So
Awesome. Yeah, well, I'll definitely be checking that out. Last question that I always end with is, what is it in your job that brings you the most joy?
I love taking people that will go through some of my leadership training and actually see them become better leaders.
Yeah.
I have a carpenter that runs one of my departments now. When he started for me, I think 10, 12 years ago, he didn't speak English. I remember his wife showing up to my house to fill out the employment paperwork, and we communicated through his wife to get through all that stuff. He was a good carpenter. Now he speaks, reads, writes English very well. He leads, I think, 26 guys in the field and does sales and estimating with customers. And it's just a great story to see that because of what I offered to him, hey, we got this class, you read this books. And, after learning English and him taking that and running with it and
Right.
actually learning things, absorbing things and becoming a better person himself overall and seeing that success in the marketplace.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really great. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been, I this is right up my alley, and it's very exciting. I'm actually in the process of starting another business, and I'm very interested to read your book and see how I might be able to apply some of those things.
Awesome.
Profit sharing is something that I've heard about, obviously, and I was just having a conversation about last week of like, yeah, but how would you actually do that in a way that would make it work? I don't know,
Yeah,
and
that's the problem.
and here we are. So that's
Here.
perfect. Well,
Great. Well,
thanks,
thank
Rob.
you, man.
Where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and our website for ProfitX is profitx.co.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, everybody, go check out Rob and ProfitX. And if you know anyone who is running their own business and looking for new ways to look at things and consider how they structure things, send them Rob's way. It sounds like he's got some good there.
Absolutely. We'd love to help.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Rob.
Thank you.
Creating Good with Matt Barnes is recorded at Rogue Collective in beautiful Newport Beach, California. It's hosted and executive produced by me, Matt Barnes. Post-production is by our amazing friends over at Fame, the B2B podcast agency. Writing is by Matt Barnes and Taylor Bolanos from Rogue Creatives. Creative direction and design is overseen by Corey Hill of Rogue Creatives. Theme music is composed and performed by Jared Atherton of Chapters. Huge thanks to our amazing guests for joining us this episode, and thank you to all of you incredible listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, and I would imagine you did if you're still listening, so don't forget to help us spread some good by giving us a good review. Preferably like 5 stars, lots of really nice words. It's very helpful. Also, tell your friends and subscribe so we can come straight into your potholes each and every time we have a new episode. Take the Creating Good pledge on our website at creatinggood.co. We'll catch you next time. This has been a Rogue Creatives production.